Samsung is going all in on budget phones this year, and recently I just got my hands on the new A13 5G, which is the latest in its budget lineup. Samsung already offers great options for budget-oriented devices, and the new A13 is one of the cheapest 5G phones with a 90Hz panel. Does this price point affect the overall value of devices, and is it better than its previous budget lineup? Well, let's find out. In terms of cost, while $250 is a great price, it is a $70 bump up from last year's A12. That's likely due to the slew of improved specs across the board, which brings the A13 5G up to be roughly on par with the OnePlus Nord N200 5G. The A13's design isn't particularly refined. It looks more or less like what I'd expect if someone asked to draw a generic Android phone. The back features an eggshell finished black plastic with 3 cameras, and the flash is on the top left corner, and you can find a Samsung logo on the bottom. There's also volume rockers and a satisfying quick power button which doubles up as a fingerprint sensor on the right edge. A combo SIM/micro SD card tray on the left, and on the bottom you'll find USB-C port, down-firing speaker, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. Overall, the A13 is honestly not the best well-built piece of hardware. It is plasticky, it flexes and creaks, and its low quality screen is hard to keep clean. But the fact that it feels cheap is tempered by the fact that it actually is cheap. It is what you'd expect at this price point, honestly. The phone is currently available in only this black option, but I'm sure we'll see other colors pop up in the near future, hopefully. The front has thick bezels, well, in 2022 standards are thick, surrounded by the 6.5-inch display, complete with a teardrop notch and an extra thick chin. I'm a little torn on the screen. It's awesome that Samsung managed to build a $250 phone with a 90Hz panel, but nothing else about this display is noteworthy, to be honest with you. It's a 720p PLS TFT LCD panel, which given the price, I actually don't mind here, but colors aren't very vibrant, which gives the phone this lifeless look. Speaking of things that I really like, that 90Hz refresh rate is awesome. But honestly, I prefer a lower refresh rate with a high resolution than going up to 90Hz and having a 720p panel. Hopefully Samsung listens for the next iteration. As far as specs, it comes with the MediaTek 700 5G octa-core processor along with the Mali G57 GPU combined with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal storage. It also supports a micro SD card slot for storage expansion. As far as connectivity, the A13 supports 5G and is currently one of the lowest priced 5G devices on the market. Running this MediaTek GPU paired up with 4 gigs of RAM, the A13 5G is a stronger performer than I honestly anticipated. Flickering around home screens, opening and switching up apps, and even playing some fairly intensive games went off without a hitch. You still get that odd stutter or hang, and sometimes you'll spend a little bit more time looking at app splash screens than you would with a more powerful device. But I think the user experience this hardware delivers is more than acceptable for this price point. It's generally pretty good. The A13 comes out of the box with One UI 3.1 over Android 11 here, so there aren't many surprises. It's got all the normal Samsung tricks, including optional edge panels that add extra shortcuts and the ability to put apps in little windows for multitasking. More interesting than the software itself is the fact that Samsung is promising 4 years of security patches for the A13. That's not unusual for Samsung in 2022, but it's still good to see such a cheap phone getting decent support. The Galaxy A13 has 3 rear cameras, a 50 megapixel primary accompanied by 2 megapixel shooter, 1 macro, and 1 depth. The primary camera kicks out decent images in good light. Its 50 megapixel art bind down to 12.5, and if you zoom in, fine details start to look a little bit like watercolor painting. Uncropped shots taken in adequate lighting look good enough for social media. The A13 struggles in dim lighting though. There is no dedicated low light mode, and despite ISO climbing into thousands in really dark settings, shutter speed is just too slow. The 2 additional cameras might as well not be there at all. One is a dedicated depth camera that allegedly assists with portrait mode, and the other is a fixed macro shooter. Good macro cameras can be a lot of fun, but this is not one of them. It's not the worst. It'll get the job done in good lighting, but definitely not in low lighting. In terms of video, this is capable of recording 1080p at 30 FPS for both the front and back cameras. So I'm sure some of you guys plan on vlogging on this camera, and if you do, this is what you can expect. The first thing I noticed, the dynamic range is pretty trash on this camera. It tends to blow out the highlights most of the times, and in fact the lighting in here is pretty even, so for some reason I don't know why the walls are super overexposed. That doesn't look inaccurate right there as far as shadows. So if you are in a super sunny day environment, you are gonna notice some really weird colors. As far as audio quality, it actually doesn't sound that bad. I don't mind it at all. And clearly you can tell there's really not any in-body here. I'm gonna walk outside here so you can have an idea of how it sounds. There's a large AC unit up here that I don't know if it's picking up right now, but if you plan on vlogging on the A13, this is what you can expect. The device comes with a 5,000 milliamp battery, which is quite good, but when you compare it with other Samsung phones at the same price point, it's honestly a downgrade. It also comes with 15-watt fast charging, which Samsung claims can take an hour and 45 minutes to charge it up from 0 to 100. That's honestly pretty impressive. I haven't done a full in-depth test on this, but I can claim that it definitely charged pretty fast. It can last you a full day of usage, and when it comes to heavy usage, you're definitely gonna have to charge up. One of the most disappointing things was the lack of a charger in the box. For this price point, it's generally required to come with a charger in the box, as many people who are buying these devices are not expecting to splurge as they are on a budget. I hope Samsung fixes this for budget phones in the future, but I think charging bricks are officially gone, guys. So, should you buy this device? My answer is yes. I like the phone a lot more than I expected. Performance is great for the price, battery life is really strong, and compared to other phones at this price range, its cameras aren't that bad at all. It's also getting longer update support than a lot of phones, which a ton of budget shoppers are gonna appreciate. I do wish the display was a little nicer, and the build quality is mildly troubling. I'm curious to see how it's gonna handle in the next few months. If you wanna see it revisited, let me know down in the comment section. I also like to have a charger in the box with the next iteration, but it looks like a ton of phone manufacturers are moving away from this. But in light of how affordable this phone is, all the issues I have with it seem to be insignificant. If you want a brand new phone for about $250, the Galaxy A13 5G is among your best option today. My name is Victor Kamanga. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down in the comment section if you want to see more coverage on this device, and if you have any questions that I didn't talk about in this video, I'll be there responding as soon as this video's over. Bye.